What's up, everybody? This is Hall of Fame wide receiver Terrell Owens here, a.k.a. T.O. Get your popcorn ready. Do a favor. Leave my guy Conor a 5-star rating after the show. Listen to it. Give him some feedback. And also, if you want to listen to my podcast as well, check it out. Subscribe, share. You don't need to leave a 5-star rating. We're 5-star. I'm 5-star all the time. My podcast is called Get Your Popcorn Ready with T.O. and Hatch. Again, check out both of those podcasts. And hey, check it out, listen, and subscribe.
All right, thanks for tuning in to Eagles Brawl of the Brawl Network. However you're listening, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, or wherever you get the show. We greatly appreciate it. Conor, Myles in the house. My co-host Tyler Steege with me. Tyler, first week's up of training camp. Some exciting stuff to go over. You and I usually do this thing where – I'm sorry, I had to yell real quick there. I just realized I boomed my voice.
Dude, we're 3 weeks away.
Too loud.
You're excited.
I am excited, but I'm more enraged when I see these takes about Darius Slay. And you and I do these episodes. You and I do these things where we just kill narratives, I want to say, or at least debate them to the point where people the downloads reflect it. People like listening when you and I go at narratives and give us our facts and then opinions to it to make more logic to the debate, because the narratives never lack that. Because now you see guys thinking. You see these reps where Deshaun Jackson beats Darius Slay. Then you see John Hightower and his elusiveness get the best of Darius Slay. And these wide receiver drills that favor the wide receiver each time, that put the corner in a bad position no matter what. It's to help the wide receivers and their route running. That's basically what it is.
It's very heavily It's all for the offense, man. And you really, you can.
It's all for the receivers and the route running. That's how they help to develop their route running. It's not like the cornerback in coverage is usually in zone. He's playing off. So they want to help develop the route running. They just want to have the guy in the coverage.
You're really looking at technique. You're really looking at technique.
Yeah, not only that. That's Darius Slay in practice his first week with the Eagles compared to what Darius Slay will be week 1.
Yes.
That's not going to be him.
Right.
That's not going to be him. To see people come out and say, oh, no, next Byron Maxwell, next Nnamdi Asomugha, that's foolish. It's just not those situations whatsoever. He's coming in. The fact I have to even reiterate this stuff is just nonsense to me. He's coming back into the system that he was drafted into. Number 1, that's a huge thing. So it's not like he's Nnamdi Asomugha coming to Juan Castillo as the defensive coordinator. It's not like it's Byron Maxwell coming to the Chip Kelly, Billy Davis scheme on defense. This is Darius Slay coming to the system that he was drafted in. This is Darius Slay, who's been coming off last year was a little down for him, but he did have hamstring issues. But it was still a great year in terms of the caliber of cornerback play.
He followed number 1.
The year prior. No, he's not slowing down. Shuts down Amari Cooper every time he matches up against him. That just doesn't disappear. That happened last year. That's not disappearing.
And he has one of the league's best pass rushers in front of him. Darius Slay is literally the least of my worries on the Eagles' defense.
Least of my worries. The fact that he's getting, if anything, now I'm more confident that, okay, Deshaun Jackson looks great. He's coming off the injury. He looks great. Awesome. That's where I got to that video. That was my feelings, not Darius Slay. I was like, okay, Deshaun looks great. The speed's there.
Right. Yeah.
When John Hightower comes and does that to Darius Slay, I'm like, oh, the route running's already there. It's translated right away. His first week of Eagles training camp, where their rookie wide receivers struggled the most in the area of route running, this guy's already showing off his footwork and his elusiveness on Darius Slay.
I think people as a whole just need to – obviously it's known Twitter is overreaction. It's just everywhere. But
yeah, it is just an overreaction.
You also need to pay attention too, though. So it kind of is a learning lesson. When we're getting all these reports from beat writers saying, oh, this guy just beat this corner, and they're typing it and people are quoting it and it gets 200 retweets. Oh, this guy's cooked. This guy's this. Remember, that type of report could be on a 1-versus-1 drill. So just take training camp as a entire whole. Like, just relax, man. Like, Darius Slay is not all of a sudden bad. Like, when Carson Wentz throws an interception, it doesn't mean he's all of a sudden bad. Like, it's just a player will miss a play. Like, he'll turn his ankle or something, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, he might be out again." Or it's like, bro, just relax. We are 3 weeks away. Just calm the fuck down. It's
plus, where does people think the term "speed kills" come from? Because I've seen John Brown put the work on Stephon Gilmore, and everybody says he's the best corner in the NFL. He is. Speed is
the most
Kenny Stills
underrated asset for a receiver. People don't understand what
Kenny Stills get past when he's in Houston. Get past Jalen Ramsey when Jalen Ramsey was Jacksonville. I mean, it's speed kills. It's a reason why that's the term. Does Darius Slay gonna get that? There's a reason why Darius Slay fared better against Amari Cooper, whereas he struggled with Terry McLaurin, because Terry McLaurin's all speed kills. Speed's going to affect any cornerback in the NFL. If Darius Slay plays the way he did last year, which is considered a down year in terms of his play, that's 10 times better than any Eagles cornerback has during the Doug Peterson era.
There's not a
since Asante Samuel.
There's not a single receiver or cornerback in the NFL that can guard Deshaun Jackson in a 1-versus-1 drill. You have no safety.
No.
You have to decide whether he's going to do a slant or he's going to beat you over the top.
Right. He's on Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson, Sean Ross, even if he pulls it the other. Because I seen last year he was cooking with his
started
speed.
On my guy Ross.
Speed kills. That's why that's the term. So not only that, this previous episode we had Ed on, and I was like, Ed, these overreactions of Darius Slay are already going on. What have you seen from him? And he's like, the most important thing that Darius Slay has brought to this team is he's teaching these wide receivers how to beat him. He's showing them hey, this is what you should do differently when you're facing a guy like me in coverage, so that you can get leverage and then you can win this opportunity. That has never happened for the Eagles wide receivers during the Doug Peterson era. They've always faced inferior talent at corner. Now they finally had that opportunity to go up against a top talent at corner day in and day out of practice. That is going to improve the young guys immensely when they're transitioned to the NFL, whereas it hasn't been that way with the Eagles before. So to have that impact from Darius Slay alone, even if Darius Slay, let's just say his play falls off a cliff, nothing could be worse than what the Eagles have been charging out of corner, dude. There's no matter what. Nothing could be worse. So if he does fall off a cliff, it's still not as bad as what they've been doing with Lourdes McKelvin, Darby with his Kirk hamstrings. It doesn't compare. The impact that what he brings from teaching your corners play the game like this, because this is how I was a top 5 corner in the NFL. This is what I did to succeed. And then to go into these wide receivers and say, this is how I go into my game plan and stop you. This is how you can stop me from stopping you. Where they didn't have that before, that impact is going to show in the season when these young guys, it's John Hightowers, the Jalen Ragers, the Greg Wards in year 2, the JT Arcega-Whiteside potentially start improving against better talented corners, because maybe the corner they're practicing against is better than them anyways. That doesn't happen before. That has not happened in years. It hasn't happened in the Doug Peterson era. That's going to be pivotal for these young guys going 100%. Into the season, whereas they didn't have that before.
I didn't think about the impact Slay would kind of have. I mean, it is on the field technically, but I guess
you never think about that until you go to training camp, and then you have somebody like Ed who's sitting there in the bleachers watching this happen tell you this, and you're like, yo, that's right. Like these the thing about Nelson Aguilar and Jordan Matthews and even the Mac Hollinses of the world, the Selton Gibsons of the world, is they go into these training camps and they're facing guys where the Eagles are shuffling out at corner. They're facing Nolan Carroll. They're facing
Bradley Flatmon,
Lourdes McKelvin. They're facing Mills at corner. You get the point. Darby. These guys are always, the Eagles are always shuffling at corners, and they don't really. They're one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL routinely. Then they have Darius Slay come in, who knows how to be a successful corner, knows how to be a top 5 corner. And he's teaching these wide receivers like, hey, you're going to go start facing better cornerback competition, which you guys have. this division had Byron Jones in it. This NFC has Jalen Ramsey in it, so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into every detail of great corners in the NFL. You get the point. Here's me knowing how to succeed, knowing how to stop you guys. Now I'm going to show you how to beat that. That's just so important, man. Especially when you see John Hightower and his elusiveness our first week of Eagles camp. Because everybody's like, overreaction. It's training camp. These are drills. This is practice. Stop overhyping these guys. Yes, I agree with that to an extent. But then I also think you don't see young guys with the Eagles, especially at the receiver position, translate in the areas that he's already showing, whereas it's route running and beating guys deep. So, I mean, I was high on John Hightower going out. I mean, now we're just segueing into the wide receiver discussion, I guess. But
there's definitely things that you can.
That impact from Slay, though, is important.
Yes, 100%. And the impact that he's going to have on others, like I said, with the departure of Malcolm, everybody talked about his on and off the field, like his impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to that Slay's kind of stepping in, and he's already looked at. You heard Maddox talk about him and how he's helping him, and then the receivers. They need that type of leader, especially when you're losing. I'm not huge into like that, like they're going to miss Malcolm off the field, but if you can have somebody come in and step and take that role, that's huge. That's huge.
Huge. And that's why I think that maybe that's where the Eagles felt more comfortable moving on from Malcolm. So I wonder if you don't get Darius Slay, say the Lions are like, no, that's the third and the fifth is not enough. And the Eagles are obviously not going to do more than that. The High Rosen would never. So just say they don't get Slay. Did they get rid of Malcolm Jenkins? I don't think so.
I definitely don't think it's as easy, yeah.
Because you need that leadership, and they understand that, especially in that secondary, that leaky secondary. So I think when you acquire Darius Slay and you realize, hey, Malcolm Jenkins' play is not up to where the money he's asking, and he's only getting older, we're not going to give him an extension at this point. We feel comfortable doing so. Now you feel more comfortable moving off of him because the leadership's being replaced. And to his credit, Jalen Mills is a leader.
Yeah.
Say what you want about him.
Sure.
That guy's a leader. And there's a reason why. And everybody, I mean, obviously, there's mixed opinions on Jalen Mills, but I'm going off of what my eyes show me, and my eyes show me that Jalen Mills is breaking down huddles on game day. The guys are asking Jalen Mills to do that. Leaders on this team are expecting Jalen Mills to do the hype breakdown in the tunnel of the secondary.
His coach loves him.
You already saw Mike Garofalo. He talked to the team. Jalen Mills talked to the team. He addressed the team about leadership. That's big. I think that's big. So, I mean, you bring Jalen Mills back. You add the veteran presence in Darius Slay, who is a born leader. That's where probably you start feeling more comfortable moving off of Jenkins. And plus, I feel like because now this Earl Thomas was released by the Ravens, and I'm sure by the time tomorrow this pod gets aired, the Cowboys sign him anyway. So I'm not even going to entertain thinking that he's an option for the Eagles. But you see some people on Eagles Twitter say, like, we need to add an Earl Thomas type. I don't agree with that at all. You have so much potential in what Jalen Mills can do at his college position. You have so much potential in Will Parks, who hasn't really got the opportunity. Because honestly, when Malcolm Jenkins played safety in New Orleans, he didn't get the opportunity to show his showcase his skill set. I really botched that.
No, you're good.
Whereas he goes to the Eagle systems, and they utilize each of his skills to his full potential, and he becomes one of the top safeties in the NFL. To sit here and think that can't happen with Will Parks, I think is kind of ignorant. Because Will Parks has flashed that type of safety potential that Malcolm Jenkins did in New Orleans. Because, again, remind you, Malcolm Jenkins came in the NFL, played corner. They moved him to safety, and he failed there as safety. Mm-hmm. He was not good there as safety. It didn't work. That's why they moved off him for Jairus Byrd immediately.
Chip Kelly saved him.
It's actually true, though, because that defense, Billy Davis' system utilized at the time when Malcolm Jenkins was probably a more fluid player, less wear and tear on his body, utilized his skill set as that center. He was playing McLeod's role that year, the year with Chip Kelly's. Then you go with Jim Schwartz comes in, and they get Rodney McLeod, and Rodney McLeod's center field, and then you move Malcolm Jenkins to a skill set that he's more comfortable with because he has all the muscle, and he's really more a natural tackler and everything of that nature. And again, still plays great, one of the best safeties the Eagles ever had. I don't just to sit here and just think because Will Parks doesn't have that resume to think that something like that couldn't happen here. I think that's kind of wrong, dude. Honestly, and I know it's big to say, but he's never had the most snaps he's played in a season is 600, and then the Denver systems have always been changing. He really looked good in Vance Joseph's system. Vic Fangio comes in, he can't really figure it out. They put him in the slot, and then he plays amazing in the slot, but he's not a slot corner. He's a safety. So I'm really interested to see Will Parks and Jim Schwartz's defense, especially Mark Emanuel as DB coach. I don't know if I want to say he's the next Malcolm Jenkins, but I think he's the next Quentin Michael, and I thought Quentin Michael was pretty good.
I think in this defense, this strong safety position it's like a rover almost.
It's like a linebacker position.
It's I don't know if Will Parks can be Malcolm Jenkins, but I mean, I just need to see more. I need to see more in this scheme.
So it's just that's what everybody's saying. So that's why people see, but you're probably saying I'd rather see more than sign Earl Thomas.
Well, there's always a room for Earl Thomas here in the city of brotherly love. No, he doesn't fit. He doesn't fit here.
No, I'm not bringing Earl Thomas in.
He came here, it just doesn't.
You're already struggling with a wide receiver that kind of screwed up the karma.
He comes off as a complete dickhead. Like as far as culture,
dude, he flipped off his whole entire sideline while he's injured. He goes to the Ravens, fights one of the starting safeties who's emerging as one of the better players on the team.
Chuck Clark, you got come on now. Shouts to Xavier. I have a good friend who's a Ravens fan. He put me on Chuck Clark pretty early.
Chuck Clark's nice. Chuck Clark is nice.
Yeah,
he is nice.
And Marlon Humphrey, that defense dogs. I can't believe Earl.
Yeah, I don't think that Ravens defense will miss a beat without Earl Thomas, to be honest with you. But to bring Earl Thomas to Philadelphia when you're already dealing with Alshon, who kind of really screwed up the locker room charisma a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think they're already kind of they're set. We've talked about the safety position, just having 4 or 5 guys.
No, because I think we're kind of underestimating Will Parks' projection with the Eagles defense. So that's my point I'm making.
Fit as soon as the signing happened. I do think that people's expectations on Will Parks is a little extreme.
It is high. Well, I just made it high.
I know that you've always been high, but I trust your film study than most. No,
yes,
and I think contracts say a lot, and when he got signed for as little as he did, it kind of worried me. I was like, okay, well then, what are your guys' expectations? And then knowing that there's a Kevon Wallace, there's a Jalen Mills, it's how are you going to get all of these guys on the field? And it's especially because
they would. You already know right now, Jim Schwartz would prefer Jalen Mills
where I'm at. So
be Malcolm Jenkins' replacement. But I'm not. Look, combined with Malcolm Jenkins in the third safety last year, that's 1,400 snaps you have to replace.
Yeah, and he's going to play a lot of linebacker. He will play a lot of linebacker.
Exactly. So I don't think Jalen Mills will play 1,015 snaps like Malcolm Jenkins did last year. I think he'll play.
And let's face it, that was probably Malcolm's
600, 700 snaps at safety.
Malcolm's ability to stay on the field was also what made him great. He didn't miss he didn't miss shit. Like he was there every single.
Well, my point is, you need to replace these snaps though.
So
I'm Jalen Mills
down.
I think will play 600-ish snaps at safety.
Mills?
Because I think he's going to line up at corner still. They're going to take it. Dude, they have so much versatility. They have to take advantage of matchups. I think he'll line up.
I think in an ideal world, they want Mills playing safety
for those
1,000 snaps at least.
For those who haven't listened to the last episode with Ed and given his recap of the first week, one of his disappointing players was Avonte Maddox. He thought Avonte looked awful this first week. So I wonder. I still think they want Jalen Mills at safety, so I don't think there's any way possible that he plays majority of his snaps next season at corner. But if it does, again, Sidney Jones already hurt. You can't rely on him to stay healthy. Rasul Douglas, I don't think he's going to make the team. I think if they find somebody on waivers to replace him with, because I don't think everybody's always like, because I saw you post your tweet and then I saw the replies that Rasul Douglas is a safety dude, like he's a safety, and I'm like, I don't think he's an NFL caliber player, actually, guys.
That's said for all bad corners. Well, he's not at his natural position.
No, he's not.
No,
You can't be that slow. You can't be that slow. Be a defensive back.
I like his playmaking ability. Yes, he can. When the ball is in front of him, and
he's in the right place at the right time for most of his interceptions. To be honest with you, they go right
for a defender. He has nice ball skills, but as a safety, you have to filter through traffic. You have to.
Yeah, I don't think he can play safety.
Can he play single high? I doubt it. Would you put him in the Malcolm role? I don't think he's physical enough by any means. No. So there's just no real spot, I think, for Rasul Douglas, and for the people who think that he could play corner, I just don't get it. Like I've always questioned what you're seeing. His feet and hips just never fit. It never, he can never cover. He just and then for bigger guys, you have to, if you're not going to have the feet and hips, you have to be able to press. And he's awful at press coverage. He can't press. Mm-hmm. You think he would be good because he's 6'2", he's long. He can't press. So again, you're talking about what he can do. I just don't. Rasul Douglas is. I come off as a hater sometimes. I'm not.
I'm surprised.
There's so many people.
I'm surprised Seattle didn't try to trade for Rasul Douglas because, I was almost convinced that they would because they took Brandon Browner, who was before Brandon Browner got to Seattle, he was a CFL player, I believe, or he was just not thought of for that well.
Sherman were
bounced around the league, practice squads, and then he became this great player. Yeah. And the reason why is because Pete Carroll is one of the best defensive back coaches, period. He's great with the secondary. He made that. Everybody's always like, blah, blah, blah. Pete Carroll orchestrated blah. That was Pete Carroll. Because Richard Sherman came out the 5th round. Cam Chancellor came out the 5th round. Earl Thomas was like the only proven really talented guy coming out of college. Pete Carroll made law. So that's why I thought maybe if you give Rasul Douglas like a coach like Pete Carroll who has proven to use slow corners, bigger guys, and make them more physical, make them like a Brandon Browner. What do you have with Brandon Browner? But I mean, I don't even think Rasul Douglas is an NFL caliber player, to be honest with you.
He just doesn't have it. I fuck with his mindset. He talked about
the Eagles cut his rookie contract. They made him take a pay cut on his rookie deal.
Yeah, that says enough.
I don't think he might make the team.
I don't think so. I mean, it's tough to say that without seeing these corners firsthand, but definitely would take Sidney over him. Definitely take Maddox. Obviously, Slay. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be that 4th and 5th guy.
Waivers.
Fuck.
They might like somebody that gets waived. It's possible. They might. They still. It's not. That's why I just wonder how. I don't know, because that's what everybody's gonna be like. Well, there's no preseason, so how do you know that? I wonder how. I guess teams are gonna have to go off of college film when guys get waived because it's not like you can watch teams' practices.
I think you could send practice film on a player.
See, I don't know that though. I should. That's something I gotta.
I think you can, or I think that's.
There's got to be something out there on a player. Yeah. There's got to be something.
Maybe one.
Unless teams go off of like team social media videos that are posted of like beat writers. I don't know. I wonder how that's going to happen this year because I mean, there's obviously going to be the Eagles, like every other NFL team, are going to pick up guys that get off waivers. I feel like they're going to do that for like the linebacker position and how to like round out their cornerback position. Because you also heard Jim Schwartz made a comment about Nicole Ridley-Coleman moving to outside too. Because Kayvon Wallace plays well in the slot. Will Parks had a great year in the slot last year in Vic Fangio's system towards
I would not
the end of
mind
the
that
season.
at all. I love that.
LeBlanc has to play, I think, because if LeBlanc gets on the field, every time he gets on the field, he gets good.
He's a solid player.
So plus then you see
I didn't even think about that.
So this is why they have to move Roby Coleman outside because he's staying step for step with Deshaun Jackson.
Man. That would be sick. I fuck with that. I didn't even think about it. Slay, LeBlanc.
He's a slot corner though. No
but he would be. I mean,
but yeah, he could play outside in certain packages because he's staying step for step with Deshaun Jackson.
They have so many things that they can do if Maddox sucks or is having a bad 4 games. Let's try Sidney. If he has a bad 4 games or 3 games or 2 games, whatever, they have the ability to put NRC out there and have LeBlanc play slot.
Well, you know how like the Eagles always do like switched around snaps. Like Avonte Maddox played like I think the last 2 weeks of the season 231 snaps, and then Sidney Jones played 79. So like at least all these corners still see the field no matter what. Now they can just do that with moving guys around versatility wise. Like, so Avonte Maddox to start off the game at corner. If he starts getting beat, they could put Sidney Jones in, or they could put Nicole outside. Just so much they can do this year. They have never, because they could never build the depth. They were playing Rodney McLeod a lot. They were playing Malcolm Jenkins a lot. Then they were playing their D-line a lot. They never really could allocate a ton of resources to corner or the depth. Now they can, because they brought in Will Parks. They drafted Kayvon Wallace. Kayvon Wallace also played extremely well in the slot at Clemson. So they have so – I love it. That's it. Yes, it sucks losing Malcolm Jenkins, the person, the player, but so addition by subtraction, because now they have – instead of relying on Andrew Janeo to be good, instead of relying on Marcus Epps to be good, instead of relying on Corey Graham to be good, now – if Jalen Mills goes down, okay, they got Parks, and then Kayvon Wallace plays more. Rudy Ford's actually making some plays. I did notice that Rudy Ford he's going to be a good special teams player, so he has to make the team no matter what. But I do wonder if Graylin Arnold makes the team from Baylor.
Yeah, I've read his name a few times.
So he's been looking good, and I'm surprised he didn't get drafted. I thought he was.
I haven't watched him much. Baylor, I don't know much on him.
But
dude,
I'm excited. This is so much
weeks away. I'm so I
know.
I have no words, man.
Carson Wentz is rolling out a lot at training camp. I don't know if you noticed.
Did Ed mention
that's
that?
What? Yeah, Ed. You know how we always beg for more play designs of Carson rolling out, making play, because he's been one of the best passers outside in coverage in the NFL, like statistically, no matter what. So Ed brought that up, and then he was like, that's the Rich Scangarello impact. That's the Marty Morningring impact. With the Eagles' offensive line seemingly being weaker this year with, Jason Peters at right guard, I don't think it's going to work. Matt Pryor's probably going to play at points during the year. Who knows if Andre Dillard's translates to the on-the-field production. To get Wentz out of the pocket a lot more, roll out with all the speed he has added, because the speed's going to get open eventually on rollouts.
Woo. Absolutely. Pull some Kyle Shanahan misdirections, pull tight end.
Get Carson out of the pocket. He's athletic. He's mobile. He can move. Get him outside of the pocket. He can avoid pressure that way. Gets guys more time to get open. Boom, 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 boom. Like, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited. The offensive line, though, kind of does worry me.
I agree.
Real quick, we'll get into the offensive line in a second. Let's just segue to one of our sponsors real quick. All right, we're back. So the offensive line, because on this last episode, I'm sure everybody's heard it by now, because, again, we are recording on Sunday, but the episode will air on Tuesday. Jason Peters has looked disappointing to Ed. And talk about their schedule. They have Geno Atkins, Aaron Donald coming in. Jonathan Allen, you see twice a year. Dexter Lawrence in the Giants, I think is actually underrated. You see him twice a year. Kenny Clark, et cetera, et cetera. So they also play the 49ers. So, like, this year, the Eagles, they're playing some really tough defensive lines. Pittsburgh's too, with Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt and T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree. Like, the offensive line chose the really bad year for Brandon Brooks to get hurt and to replace Jason Peters at left tackle, to be honest with you.
Carson finally gets speed and talent, the O-line's just going to go to shit. No, the Brooks injury sucks, because now anytime somebody else goes down, it's just so much more significant. Like, Is Lane?
That's true. Because Lane Johnson's been susceptible to injuries. Dillard, we don't know. Jason Peters is definitely going to miss snaps.
You don't want to be shuffling your O line. That's you like to have it gelling by October or November.
That's true. That's also true. The chemistry's not really up to, because again, new starter left tackle now. The Andre Dillard's your week 1 starter most likely.
Right.
Jason Peters at right guard. That's a whole new transition.
And I don't remember if it was BLG or Mike K. Somebody said that like when Dillard walked off practice, they threw, who did they throw? Malata. And then they had Lane Johnson missed a snap. And I forgot who slid there, but they said Peter stayed at right guard. And they should be doing that. They should not be moving him to tackle. Like, let him learn his position. You know he can step in at tackle if you need to. But I forgot who it was, but they were like, that's surprising. It's like, no, that's not surprising. You should keep Peters there. You know he can play left tackle. You know he can. He doesn't need reps there. He's done it for 13 years. So yeah, the continuity or gelling is going to be huge for the O-line. And they need to figure it out. And that's where it's going to be tough if Peters is in and out of the fucking lineup at guard. Pryor definitely needs to be ready. That's for sure.
I feel like they've been working extensively with Pryor on first team reps though. They anticipate that, which they should. They'd be foolish not to. They would be fools not to anticipate that.
Year. He needs to have
he's capable of it. Dude, the last 7 weeks of the season, he's one of the best guards in the NFL, I would argue.
He starts off really poor.
Yeah, he did. He did start off poor last year, but then from week 7 on,
he did.
He was one of the better guards in the NFL. But I agree with you. Yeah, I think Sayamala is so important to his offensive line this year. So important.
Absolutely.
When you consider the fact that he has to work with Andre Dillard for the first time. Well, not the first. No, they extended him. He's on a budget deal.
Oh, for like 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a great. Absolutely. That was one of Howie's best extensions, to be honest with you. To be completely honest with you, because a lot of people underrate Isaac Sayamalu. I think I agree with you though. He starts off the season a little slow, and then that's where people really jump off his train. But the
entire O-line,
week 7 on, he was great. I never thought this offensive line was a great pass protecting offensive line though. I was never one of those people. I was like, PFF says this stuff, but I'm like, I feel like Carson Wentz makes more plays than that. Like that's where the context has to add in, because if Carson Wentz breaks away from a sack and runs it on 3rd down, they're going to consider that a hurry, but they're not going to consider that a sack.
Samalo on a 3-year, $15 million. Yeah, it's $5 a year. That's nuts. Sorry.
Yeah, that's nuts for a guy who's playing very well at left guard, and then that's a guy they drafted as well. But yeah, so because he has to work with Andre Dillard for what looks to be majority of the season. I don't know if the offensive line looks rough out the gate.
Wentz can also help. Wentz needs to be better. That's been something that he needs to get better at too.
I agree. He holds on. Yeah, because Wentz. But that's just the thing.
But to take it to the next level, though, get the ball to the correct read the first time, and sometimes Wentz misses it,
or throw the ball away, or just get it away.
Will miss his first read, and
he's never going to be that guy.
I think he can be.
I feel like the comparisons to Brett Favre for Carson Wentz, besides the careless interceptions, are really on par, because at North Dakota State, he always felt that he could make that extra play, and he always could, because
Carson is absolutely an alpha.
He's an alpha. He believes that he can do that in the NFL, and
I don't.
Do I hate that? No, not at all. That's awesome. Honestly, I'd rather my quarterback be a risk taker like that than be Kirk Cousins. So I'm completely fine with Carson Wentz's attitude being that way. But yes, there is times where you just got to throw the ball away, man. Like you're gonna these guys, when they hit you hard, and you fumble it, bud. Like it happens, man. Like we need to start being a little more careful, because whereas we always like to brag Carson Wentz throws 7 interceptions a season, but he does fumble a lot. So I mean that's still turnovers. Like, so if he gets the ball away more, if he gets it to the quick read, or if he takes the check down, if he has to, just cut down the fumbles.
Yeah.
That's all I
Protect
ask.
the rock for sure, and yourself.
Protect the rock. Yeah, we need you to protect yourself for sure, especially this year behind this O line. But that's what's good. That's what if let's just here's my question here, and then we're gonna go into like this really quick poll that we had on Twitter for Miles Sanders because I thought it was a little interesting. If you're 4 weeks, 6 weeks into the season, and the offensive line is just not getting done on the left side, so I don't want to single out Andre Dillard here because I feel like if I just say this, the answer is easily. Let's just say he's okay, like could be better, and the left side just pressure's getting destroyed over there, and the offensive line's kind of like just not getting it done pass protection wise. You're 4 weeks, 6 weeks into the season. Did you pull the cord to left tackle and put Peters out there?
No. I mean,
your leash with Andre Dillard's long this year.
Yeah, 100%. First of all, I'm a contextual person, so it would depend on how bad it is. But yes, Andre Dillard has a long leash. He's getting all the first team reps. You drafted it. You traded up for him. Again, contextual. If he's getting blown up, he's allowing 3 sacks a game or 2 sacks a game, or you can't run behind him, and it's just terrible. Then yeah, you have to consider putting Peters. But if he's playing okay, and the team is 4-2, 3-3, I don't know. Context matters, but my leash with Dillard, 100%. You're what is pulling him going to do? Then you're just delaying the process of seeing if he's an actual good prospect or not. We just said Samalo started slow the last few seasons, and then he ended well. You got to give Dillard time to get acclimated, learn from his mistakes.
Yeah, Sam Allen kind of went through the same thing though. Wisniewski was the starter for like the first. They gave Sam Allen the starting nod in 2017, but then they pulled him because he was struggling for Wisniewski.
But he's not a first round pick, and you didn't trade up for him.
I understand that, but I would do it absolutely though, because you have 3 years left of his deal, and then you get franchise tag.
And again, if
you need me, so that's 4 years.
I'm not going to sit here, on a hill saying that I wouldn't consider it if he was playing bad in week 4.
I think you have to, because Jason Peters played so well left tackle last year. He actually did.
Dillard's going to have a good year this year. I think he's going to be just fine, and I think everybody, like the scrutiny behind him on the field, is
he added the weight though. I think that's because I would say that his so far so good at camp. I think. I know Josh Sweat beat him, but it's speed guy. I kind of think that's going to happen. He's still young. Andre Dillard's going to be a good player.
You're going to get beat at left tackle. The edge rushers in the NFL, there's a lot of fucking good ones,
especially speed guys.
Yeah, it's.
Josh Sweat has been getting huge reviews too, so I think it's more of like a good thing that I'm hearing Josh Sweat.
I guess expectations should probably be adjusted. This is his first real year starting. He's going to make mistakes, but understand.
Oh, Andre Dillard's gonna be a good player. I had no doubt about
behind
that.
Andre Dillard is starting to get overlooked, and it's starting to become a little disrespectful. I don't fuck with it. I don't fuck with it. He's so good. There's a reason he should not have been like an opportunity for the Eagles to draft. Like them landing him.
Who made that point though? That was actually, I think it was BLG, and when he came on the show, that they probably didn't expect to draft him though. So if you don't expect to draft a player, and you might not have the most research on him, that's
true.
Because you have to admit there is reasoning to be
for sure. I get
skeptic of him.
But I just think that
he's a great player. I'm not worried about him, dude. I just don't have a problem if you have to pull him this year. I don't think it's the end of the world, because if people, and I know you're bringing up the first round pick, and I think that's justified. I think a lot of people will just focus on that. But when you look at Isaac Sayamalo, it worked for him, and Jeff Stoutland's O-line coach. So why wouldn't it work for Andre Dillard? I have no issue with it if that's what you need to do. Because Jason Peters, again, like I said, a lot of people because again, he misses snaps, false starts, all that crap. Push that aside. He plays really well at left tackle still. With that, again, the false starts suck though. They're drive killers. They always kill the drives when he does it. Right guard's going to be a lot worse, so buckle up. His false starts at right guard are going to be awful.
Do you think, and by the way, I agree that if they're struggling week 4, week 6, we can have a conversation. It just depends on how bad it gets, and I don't think that it'll get that bad. Do you think that lack of crowd noise or there being fans, do you think that's going to benefit offenses, O-lines?
O-lines, yeah, for sure. Because you can get the communication can get
right. I was thinking that like quarterbacks like Rodgers, like Rivers.
That's gonna help. That's a really good fucking point, man. Wow, that's an angle I have not thought
I thought
of.
about it the other day. Like they're going to like Rivers, Rodgers, guys who can dissect you just at the line of scrimmage. Those guys are going to be.
Jason Kelce can dissect you at the line of scrimmage.
That's true. That's true. But I'm saying, saying quarterbacks, think about the advantage they'll have. Guys like that, like Rodgers, they're just going to eat. Like offenses are going to be wild.
Calls out the mic immediately. The center calls out who's blitzing immediately.
Big noise.
Everybody's on. Well, they are, but I mean, I don't think it's gonna be. It's still not gonna be the same. Because the Falcons tried it and nobody even noticed.
Yeah, that's funny.
But
guys,
wow, that's a really. Dan, dude, if you were a writer, you should write that angle because that's actually a really good angle to think about. For in a year where the Eagles' offensive line is probably at its weakest, they have the biggest positive going for them: the fact that they're going to be able to communicate freely among each other with no significant crowd noise.
It's going to be different. The bubble, watching the NBA bubble, brought it to my attention. I was like, what kind of like? There's going to be significant things that we don't really think of that we're going to be like, oh shit, like. There's going to be trends of like random.
Wow. Thank God the Eagles don't blitz them a lot with their linebackers, anyways, because that's getting called out at the line of scrimmage each time easily now, and all offensive linemen are going to be on the same page in here.
So we were talking about, not you and I forgot who I was having the conversation with about Joe Burrow. Like you would think that this rookie season's kind of easier for younger guys like that. It's like. They don't have to deal with on the road being down, throwing a pick six. They're down 21-0, tell aloud. Like it's kind of a nice thing to get acclimated for young guys too.
Yeah, these young guys aren't going to be in their head that much because they don't have somebody like forcing them to be in their head. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, again, it's tough learning these. It's no preseason, it's gonna show. The first 4 weeks of the season, I expect a snooze fest.
Defenses are gonna. I think defenses are gonna have a hard time. I think we're gonna see a lot of high scoring points this year.
The secondary's communication is gonna be rough. The chemistry in the secondary is gonna be rough. But again, there's no crowd noise, so at least everybody's gonna be in good communication.
The cool thing is the Eagles kind of have they have a pretty easy schedule to start.
The NFL's got to be on to this. They got to think this. They might. Yeah, they're already planning on this. I wonder how loud you can make fake crowd noise.
Yeah,
because they're definitely onto this already. They're like, this is
like
because you got to think of like every
insanely loud, and then like you go to like the Chargers and they just have like no crowd noise. It's not allowed. It just
yeah, it's gotta be realistic, guys. Come on, but. Wow, because you gotta think like every defensive coach in the league is probably thinking like, "What the hell?" Now everybody's gonna know when we're blitzing or like where we're coming from with our blitzes. We gotta fix this, like, because that's dang. I did not even think of that. That's a really good point, man. I mean, that is a good point. Like that to start thinking that now. That's good for this offensive line. That is good.
The Eagles have the Redskins, the Chargers, and the Bengals. I think to start. I think those are the first three games. Like they have a pretty nice schedule to get started.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the Rams week.
You're right, not Chargers. It's Rams, but they're coming to Philly.
Jonathan Allen, Aaron Donald, Geno Atkins for Jason Peters right off the bat.
Hey, welcome. Yeah.
Welcome to right guard, Jason Peters. Hopefully you have the muscles and the movement and the leg movement to do it.
200 week one anyway.
Let's end the show on two things. I'm gonna pose this question to you. You just answer it with the first thought in your head. I'm gonna answer it the same. First question: Jason Peters is good at right guard in 2020.
Yes, when healthy.
I say no. I don't think he's going to work at right guard. All right. Second question: does Miles Sanders make the Pro Bowl in 2020?
Yes.
I say he does too. It was so the poll that we ran on Eagles Brawl. It got a good amount of votes. It almost got 200 votes, I think, and I only posted it for like 12 hours. 70. I think it was 70% to 30%. Yes to no. But the quotes are where I was like, all right, this is some interesting arguments on the quoted side part because some people are like,
how many listeners play fantasy, but I'm going to snag him in round 1. I'm picking like late.
Oh yeah, I would highly recommend that. But one of the answers was it's a popularity contest, so no. And then another answer was Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Zeke, Kamara, Gurley could all bounce back. Just think there's other backs will get more opportunities.
That's actually a good point. It is pretty loaded.
They are good points, but I think.
Geez, that's all the.
Yeah, I think Miles Sanders.
Aaron Jones could have a year like.
Well, no, because see, Aaron Jones is always so good, but then the Packers are always like, screw you. Because then they drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round.
But I do think he's going to have a huge year. Like he's going to have.
Oh, I think so. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run. It's just going to be a running team.
He's going to be there for checkdowns. There's going to be so much space because of the speed. Like,
I don't think Gurley's that anymore.
Gurley was one of those. Nah, Gurley is like done.
Kamara, I mean, the Saints' offensive line is great. He was banged up last year, but I think Miles Sanders, from a rushing standpoint, this year could have a better year than. Oh man, that's tough. But I think he could. So. CMC, Saquon, and Zeke, whatever. Like if
CMC's a lock, he's so good.
Yeah, he's definitely a lock. He's definitely a lock. Saquon's a lock.
Yeah, Zeke. Yeah, man,
probably a lock. Yeah, I don't know. Because Mike McCarthy never runs the ball
pretty quick, and I'm regretting it. I don't think he's going to make it, but I do think he's going to have a pretty.
Yeah, I think he's going to make it.
Probably. I mean,
I don't know, dude. If they go. I hope the Eagles commit to Miles Sanders the way that they committed to LeSean McCoy in his second year.
I mean,
because you need to take advantage.
The fact that they haven't signed a veteran has surprised me.
You need to take advantage of a guy when his legs are fresh.
We
need to take advantage of him when he can handle a workload like this while he's
especially
young.
When you take him.
You can't wait.
Early. Don't take him that early and then continue like draft Rashad.
And not only that, because you look at the Raiders who drafted Josh Jacobs in the first round, they can't stop drafting and signing running backs that can catch. Miles Sanders does it all. Miles Sanders is a vertical threat. Miles Sanders is a huge threat in the passing game. His pass protection improved immensely. I thought he was great in pass protection.
It's ironic.
Why do you want to limit this guy's snaps?
When Sanders first got on the field, the worst thing he was at was running the ball. he was just so,
his vision was off. But that's guess what? LeSean McCoy's rookie year was the same way. These guys never know the holes to hit when they were rookies.
I talked about it.
Because in college,
I did not like Sanders coming out. I'm surprised.
Because you thought he'd always bounce outside. See, that's what he's used. When you're in college and you're fast like that and you can bounce outside and win that way, why would you stop? Why would you ever go inside? Why would you ever look anywhere else when you're in the Big Ten and you're winning routinely because he was so fast on the outside, just running outside? He brought that to the NFL, and so did LeSean McCoy. LeSean McCoy was the same way at Pittsburgh. They both came to the NFL, and instead of hitting the holes that the offensive line would make for them, they would bounce outside with their speed and think they could win that way. And that's not how it works in the NFL, and they learned that right away. As the season went on, his vision improved immensely. He was hitting every hole well. The run against the Redskins is what really popped my eyes out. That huge run that he had against the Redskins, because he went right through the hole. And not only that, if you look back at his run directions last year, it was all majority on the right side, but it was majority right through Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson. He wasn't bouncing outside, counter side of Lane. He was going inside zone up those guys. So he's finding the hole. His vision really improved. I think he can make a Pro Bowl. Honestly, I would not be surprised because he had. I want to say this is right off the top of my head. I think he had 1,327 all-purpose yards last year, rushing, receiving, and then he had 6 touchdowns altogether. I think he can have 16 to 17 100 all-purpose yards.
I think he could have around 17 too. That was my number.
He's having 10 touchdowns this year because he's such a threat. Think about everybody's always talking about how this speed's going to make Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert have so much speed. What are you going to do when Miles Sanders is running a route? What are you going to do when he's lined up in the slot? What are you going to do when he's lined up out wide? What are you going to do when Carson Wentz checks down to Miles Sanders?
He's going to have a good year.
Throwing to Miles Sanders in space is going to be huge. Throwing to Boston Scott in space is going to be huge, especially with all the speed.
It's actually going to happen. This has been a crazy offseason. Like, you don't know if football is going to happen. You don't know if it is. It is. It's not. It is. Like, 3 weeks, man. 3 weeks.
All right, man. Let's end the show, though. We're long into this. So it was fun having a little talk. We addressed the Slay overreactions are ridiculous. We addressed our feelings on the offensive line. We addressed Miles Sanders going to the Pro Bowl. I like it. And then we also talked about the safety position, which we didn't really expect to do. So off the top of our heads, I would agree. This is a great little episode of just talking out loud. It's our 30th episode, by the way. We are rolling here at Eagles Brawl, episode 30. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Just real quick, the content's only getting better, man. With when the games actually start happening, we're going to be doing live shows and stuff.
Oh yeah, the content's going to be so much better. The reason why I felt the need to reach out to Ed and say, "Hey Ed, do you want a position at Eagles Brawl to be our Eagles insider?" is because I'm not going to go on Twitter and watch these videos and then make a podcast and debate them. That sounds dumb. I want to have somebody who's there. I want to have somebody who's on the scenes come on the show and tell me what's going on so that we can talk about it on the show so that I'm more informed that way. And that's what we're doing at Eagles Brawl. That's the point of Eagles Brawl. When it gets into the games, you guys are going to be witnessing my man cave live. You guys are going to be witnessing Tyler's and I's immediate reactions to the games around the post-game wrap-ups. That's when the stuff's really exciting. So
there will be times that I am
absolutely
intoxicated.
And then not only that, Giovanni's probably going to join us a couple times, which is going to be fun because everybody loves him. No, I'm still going to be intoxicated. That's the Eagles game. Giovanni understands. Giovanni went to a bunch of Eagles games last year. He gets how Eagles fans are. But we're going to have a blast. The live shows, the post-game wrap-ups are going to be great.
Are you a beer guy?
Right now,
a beer guy, or are you
I mean, I'll drink anything, but I love beer. Yeah, I'm a big Stella guy. On game day, I have to have my Stellas real quick, but when they win real quick, I gotta take some Captain.
Some Captain for some shots.
If they lose really badly, dude, I went to that Dolphins game last year. I came home and I got plastered.
Oh man,
I spent all my money on those tickets.
I went to a friend's house to watch that game because I normally don't, but we were playing the Dolphins. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, we'll win. Oh man,
dude, we were winning too. I'm sitting in this. Do you know that Dumpty guy? That guy that has the tattoos all over with the Philly Fanatic? On the Philly Fanatic belly button tattoo guy. You don't know that guy? Well, anyways, he's a huge. I'm surprised I don't know. Eagles Twitter loves him. Know. Well, he's got all these games, and he was sitting right in front of me, and we were like all over Twitter because this guy's sitting in front of me, and everybody's all hyping my section because the Eagles are winning, like they're handling the Dolphins. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside caught a touchdown that game right in front of me, like literally, and then they just blow it. Yep. I mean, Devontae Parker, by the way, started the game off destroying us, and that killed me. Watching, I had to see that live. I had to watch that live.
Oh man!
But
that's why we drink.
Man, let's end the show. That's why we'll drink. But yes, thank you guys for we just approached 6K downloads, which is amazing. We're going to keep rolling here. Thank you guys for becoming true Eagles Brawl fans during the most boring time of sports history. We promise that these post-game wrap-ups will be even better. The best content is yet to come on Eagles Brawl. Thanks guys for tuning in.